Gentlemen.
That's right.
A really sad way to begin the show today.
Very sad. But I think that kicks off our wake-up conversation this morning on a Tuesday. So we'll just go straight into it. And like Oliver's mentioned, feel free to join us. Well, a pre-dawn raid on the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Magadanko, Wasagu, LGA of Kebbi State saw bandits abduct 25 students and killed a staff member, deepening fears over the state's worsening insecurity. Now, what shocks many residents, especially in the Kebbi State, is that 400 million naira every month, we do hear, is received by the state, 4.8 billion naira a year, specifically for security. Take note of that figure. Yet, communities like Maga remain exposed to repeated attacks. And with President Donald Trump of the United States recently issuing a stern CPC-related warning that the U.S. could take a tougher position if Nigeria fails to curb such violence, this latest incident has revived pressing questions about leadership, accountability, and the government's ability to protect its people. Now, you recall that a lot has happened over the past few months, especially with insecurity in the northern region. But then again, let's also take note that this similar incidents did take place sometime in 2014, also in 2024, where the numbers were humongous. They were huge. But let's recall Gbenga, Olive. This is happening all over again. Unfortunately, while this happened, we do hear it happened pre-dawn, just before the morning hours. The bandits did scale into the school, and then we hear they picked up these girls, 25 of them, and then took them away with them. In the process, they unalived the principal. And while they did that, they also hurt the security guard, and they went away with these girls. Kind of like a reminiscence of what we did see in 2014.
I mean, this is terrible, and it's a failure of the administration and security agencies in all parts. I can only imagine what the parents of those girls are going through, and their family members and loved ones, and also the girls themselves, because you can imagine the sort of trauma and conditions in which they will be kept. The governor has said they will do all things to find them and return them to their loved ones. We wish them all the best, and we hope they do so in due time. But having said that, I am disappointed in the federal government, especially with regards to their crisis communication. They haven't said a single word. Yesterday, the president met with newly appointed judges. I think it was an investiture or something like that. And also, yesterday, the vice president was in Taraba State, if I'm not mistaken, to receive decampees to the APC. I mean, we're at a very serious part in our nationhood, a very serious period in our nationhood. Just over the weekend, there was an attack on a military convoy. A senior military officer was killed, and it was first kidnapped and then killed. Yet, 48 hours later, 72 hours later, not a single tweet or statement from the presidency acknowledging this. It just feels, I mean, these are people that go out to serve their nation, pay the ultimate sacrifice. I do understand that there's a chain of command. The military secretary has to inform the family of the deceased, but how long will that take? And for the second incident of the kidnapping of the girls in Kebbi in the secondary school, why hasn't even even if the president doesn't say anything, the president's handlers, the special advisor, and media, no one has acknowledged this incident, and it's just a double tragedy. Very sad.
I'm actually on the Presidency Nigeria page on X, just to be sure.
There's nothing
that
there's nothing there.
The presidency page was wishing the Olu of Iwo, a traditional ruler, happy 10th year anniversary on the throne. This was a man that was suspended from his throne because he was engaged in a brawl with a fellow traditional ruler.
You know, it's really, it's sad to see.
No statement from the presidency, no statement from the SSAs. Usually the SSAs would have jumped on this.
I mean, your PR person is there any sense in not speaking? Is there any PR? Because they say silence is golden. In this instance,
This
is silence
silence is not
golden?
golden.
It's not golden. You're
That's
supposed
one.
to say something.
Two, beyond their
You're supposed to
speeches,
say
honestly, I'm exhausted, Gbenga. I'm exhausted that we have to keep going in these cycles. That in 2025, we're still having young girls who will not want to go to school because they keep hearing of incidences where other young girls have gone to school and from school they've been kidnapped. I imagine the fear, the trepidation they must have felt, in these hours. Why were there no security, agencies? What is it that makes it easy for these terrorists to go to school?
Yes.
School children are soft targets.
That they're easy targets,
they're
exactly.
very easy targets. So what is it that makes it easy for them to go to these schools, pick our children, take them into the bush? We hear of those who have survived kidnapping when they recount their incidents, when they recount their ordeal of how they had to trek miles in the bush. I think, and I shudder to think of what these girls are going to go through in the bush. I hope and pray things don't get even worse for them in the bush, and our security agencies that they sweep into action. And I'm exhausted. I think that's all that I can say about it.
It's very sad, and let me state this clearly, guys, as we're talking about this. While this is going on, like I did mention, it's a reminiscent of what happened in 2014 with the Chibok girls, and then you also had another incident that equally happened in 2024. Over 300 students were also kidnapped, especially by bandits as well. The sad truth is, while many parents would expect that some of these children will return back to them, it's never the reality. Some do return, some...
And even those that return are never the same.
Even the Chibok girls, they've still not found many of them up until date. They still cannot... Parents have given up hope. In a recent interview, I think, done by News Central as well as some other media houses, I remember News Central correspondent who had spoken to one of the parents, and they said, listen, it's life. They still feel the pain, but they just have to move on. While they are moving on, they're still looking back, hoping that one day they could hear the voice of their daughter or their child, call them and say, listen, I am back. And it seems like, guys, I keep saying this thing, and I'm going to say it again. I mean, for the record. So let those who know. You cannot fight insecurity and be celebrating people who are moving to political parties. You are throwing parties. You are focused on 2027 as if 2026 does not exist.
Meanwhile, there's still that issue of a CPC designation, and the United States Congress is going to take testimonies this Thursday. Another country is more serious about your own issues. It's such the biggest indictment for the government.
It's a big indictment. So while you're having this, I've said it.
Optics.
Until they stop the politicking. When they have the Federal Executive Council meeting, let all the governors sit down and say, listen, let's down tools. Let's now focus on insecurity. Let's call an emergency on insecurity and let's deal with it.
Yeah, and let's remove all non-kinetic and anybody that is negotiating on behalf of bandits. I mean, that conversation should never happen. That person should actually be questioned. And I'm talking of the person of Sheikh Gumi. You don't even think about the victims, the family, or saying...
He's talking about it being peace. What's interesting is that, he's talking about them wanting peace.
What sort of peace? Is that a job? Are you meant to be a criminal in the first place?
I saw a tweet of a young man on X. I can't remember his name now. I think he's a farmer, the way they call them data boys or banga boys. I don't know if he's one of them. But he put out a tweet that said if he had his way, Sheikh Gumi would be the vice president of Nigeria. And you need to see the reactions on X. But
I just feel he was looking for...
That's what I think. I didn't see a lot of his tweets who say, he's a man of peace.
It's rage baiting.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was, of course, had his reactions in 2014 at the time that the Chibok girls also were kidnapped. He said, finding the abducted Chibok girls must engage all of our energy and resource. The tears of their parents must stop. The bleeding must end. And we're hoping that we see that same energy, in 2025, now that we've had these girls.
Now that you're commander-in-chief of the armed forces, yes.
The former vice president, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, put out a statement yesterday as well and said Nigeria cannot continue like this. and it listed a lot of reasons why Nigeria cannot continue like this. So there have been counter reactions after this recent abduction of the girls. Of course, a very embattled politician, Moyele Sowore, also put out a tweet yesterday and said, how come the IGP has not spoken yet? That I was expecting the IG to speak, but there goes Atiku's tweet.
I mean, the highest authorities in the land have not said anything, and that's disappointing.
That's worrying. That's worrying. I'm devastated by the news of the tragic attack on Government Girls Comprehensive Senior Secondary School, MAGA, in Kebbi State, which claimed the life of the vice principal and led to the abduction of innocent students. This is yet another reminder of the worsening insecurity in our nation. I equally condemn the killing of an APC chieftain, Umar Moriki, and mass abduction in Safe LGA of Zamfara. Yes, this also happened, guys, we forgot to mention. That killing, very sad, where entire families, including women and children, were taken by bandits. These acts of barbarity have no place in a civilized society. Similar tragedies continue to unfold in Plateau, Benue, and other states where communities are being torn apart by violence. In Shanono, LGA of Kano, residents are fleeing their homes in fear, highlighting the national security challenge that has reached intolerable levels. Nigeria cannot continue on this path. I call on the federal government to urgently review and strengthen its security architecture, deploy adequate personnel across vulnerable communities, and intensify intelligence-led operations. Citizens deserve protection, dignity, and peace, nothing less. And he signs out on that.
I mean, this is just the barest minimum that is expected from the government. And I don't want to think they're sitting down and folding their arms and not doing anything about this, but it's become one too many, and it's very embarrassing to say the least. The entire world's gaze is on Nigeria as we speak. The focus is on Nigeria, and then to see this sort of incidents occur on a daily and weekly basis just basically reinforces what they're saying about, you know, now disgraced country, and a country that can't even secure the lives of its own people. But that shouldn't be our case, and we need to step up and, you know, give our security agencies, the gallant men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces, all the necessary support and equipment, material and otherwise, that they need to take care and deal with this banditry and terrorism decisively once and for all. And they should end any sort of non-kinetic or carrot and stick approach, because these are very violent, criminal, terrible individuals that in their own consciousness have decided to take the way of the gun. So they should, any consequences they meet should be accepted by them. I think it's time to take the gloves off and, you know, send a strong message and deal with them decisively.
Okay, let's also take the reaction from the statement by the Kebbi State Police, and then we'll see what Nigerians are saying as well. If we can please put up the statement by the Kebbi Police. Do we have that up here? Okay, yes. Police tactical units, military personnel, and vigilantes have been deployed for search and rescue operations of the kidnapped students of Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, MAGA, on the 17th November 2025 at about 4 o'clock. Information received revealed that a gang of armed bandits with sophisticated weapons shooting sporadically stormed the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, MAGA, Danko District, Dango Wasagu local government area of Kebbi State. The police tactical units deployed in the school engaged them into a gun duel. Unfortunately, the suspected bandits had already scaled through the fence of the school and abducted 25 students from their hostel to unknown destination. Similarly, one Hassan Makuku M, a male, was shot dead, while Ali Shehu, male, sustained injury in his right hand. Upon receiving the unfortunate incident, a combined team of additional police tactical units, military personnel, and vigilantes has been deployed in the area, and they are currently combing the bandits' routes in nearby forests with a view to rescue the abducted students and possibly, is it possibly for me? That makes me sad. Arrest the perpetrators of this dastardly act. In the light of the above regrettable incident, the Commissioner of Police, Kebbi State Command, CP Bello M. Sani, had reiterated the command's unwavering determination in safeguarding the lives and properties of the residents of Kebbi State. He equally appealed to the members of the public to remain calm, vigilant, and continue supporting police operations for peace and stability to be maintained. It's easier to say that people should be calm. Never in the history of calm down has anybody calmed down. So when parents, who don't know where their girls are, who have seen the children of other parents being taken away and some never return to them to this day. When they're up and thinking and wailing and crying, telling them to calm down is not what they want to hear. But what they want to see are their children returned to them unharmed.
I really don't understand the spirit of that press release that was released.
No,
okay, they scaled the fence. You couldn't even shoot one person or arrest one of the abductors.
Because you can't tell me that.
And then you are now giving reports of civilians that were hurt. We know people were kidnapped. That's
what
not
of
what
the people
we
that
want.
carried out the crime?
What of the, hopefully.
Possibly,
yes.
There's
Maybe
possibly, there's unfortunately, and so on. But you see, when you talk sometimes, you have people who say, are you a security expert? Why should you talk? But I always say, before you become a security expert, even security experts apply what they call common sense. And this is the common sense. Did they abduct one person? 2, 3, 4, 5, 25. Is it easy to take 25 people and pass through a school building and hit the bush without being seen?
They didn't kidnap them in a Ferrari.
They come for the abduction, like the case of Plateau State that we heard. They came, and then we hear that they came on bikes. They were over about 50. So the sound of the bikes you hear. There was also a video online concerning the Brigadier General who was killed when the attack happened. So residents were able to hide and make videos. That's the video you see there on the screen. And you can see them moving. So they're moving. You know, these guys are, they have no mercy. And they are ready to do and undo. And it makes you worry why, I'm still going to say it, why a state of emergency on insecurity has still not been called. But rather we have what is called PR processes that's being done, or speak to the international press and so on. It's fine. It's a good strategy. It's a good way to say.
Yeah, but the reality is different.
The reality is quite different. You know, I just want to end up from my own point is, my point is, if you have rats in your house and these rats are causing a tantrum, they are destroying, they are doing all sorts, would you say, okay, you know what, leave them? They are just friendly rats. Or would you take care of them so you can live in peace? The government needs to now decide if they want to keep the rats at bay, or they want to keep them within, or they need to take decisive actions to ensure that they weed off every single aspect of even having the smaller babies of the rats, or they just,
you know what,
possibly just
there's
do
a
away
good
with that.
thing that next year is a penultimate year to an election, and one of the metrics that people use to judge a government is they look at the security metrics. If you look at the tail end of the Jonathan administration, there was a surge. I mean, they scored many decisive victories in dealing with insecurity. So this will force the hand. And also, let's not forget the pressure from the United States government, the CPC designation. And we've been seeing some movement by the military would hopefully bring a decisive blow to the issue of insecurity. Whether they like it or not, they have to do something about it in the next few months.
But Gbenga when?
But let's
Okay, we need to go, but let's quickly take what Nigerians are saying so we can move to the next story of 2 people fighting on the plane. But let's quickly take the tweets on X of what Nigerians are saying about the unfortunate kidnap in Kebbi State. The deployment of police tactical units, military personnel, and vigilantes for the search and rescue of the kidnapped students is unfortunately coming after the damage has already been done. The attack on Government Girls Comprehensive School Maga in the early hours of November 17th is yet another heartbreaking chapter in Nigeria's worsening security crisis. Armed bandits stormed the school, outgunned the system, killed Hassan Makuku, and abducted 25 innocent girls, children who simply came to learn. But the painful question Nigerians can't ignore is this: where were the police when this horror was unfolding? Why do security forces always arrive after the lives have been taken and the children have vanished? This tragedy should never have been allowed to happen. Let's take 2 more tweets. Bashir Garba says, this is commendable. What is commendable? And I pray that our security forces succeed. However, Nigeria must adopt a more proactive approach to tackling insecurity. We cannot continue to respond only after attacks occur. We must act ahead of time. Bashir says, in the last 7 days, Kebbi girls were kidnapped. Members of the Equa Church were kidnapped. A brigadier general was killed alongside his own convoy. Several Christians were wiped out in the communities. In what way are we a sovereign country? Elijah Sultan asks. And hello, official BATS President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Are you aware that school children were abducted in Kebbi and principal murdered? Kindly find and rescue them ASAP, Akong says in that tweet. Do we have any others?
I mean, it's a very valid question because the presidency has not said anything. So maybe he's not aware. It's a very reasonable question.
But the SSAs are there.
Let's take the final tweet. They removed CDS and now borders have been exposed. Kidnappers have come back from Kaduna State. That's Kafanchan to Kaduna Road again. When will this end? Some Muslims don't want America to end these killings and kidnappings. When are we going to be safe? I'm not sure I quite understand
I don't
this person's
understand.
point. But we'll move now from here to say, like we did in 2014, to the federal government and to our security agencies, bring back our girls. Let's now move to our next story, Joe.
Our next story here has got to do with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. Now, NCAA has announced that no, they're not celebrities, I beg your pardon. They are just social media people. Very dark man and Mr. Jollof face sanctions following a reported in-flight altercation. Now, the clash, which occurred during boarding, reportedly stemmed from a prolonged social media feud between the two, escalating into a physical confrontation before takeoff. With a very dark man alleging he was bitten by Mr. Jollof. Well, in a tweet, that's what he said. The NCAA, by the way, described the incident as unacceptable and confirmed that disciplinary measures will be applied under Part 19 of the NCAA Regulations 2023. Now, the announcement underscores the authorities' commitment to maintaining safety and professionalism in Nigeria's airspace, echoing past enforcement actions such as fines and sanctions imposed on airlines for passengers' mistreatment and operational violations. And there you have it. Well, anyway, the tweet you see on the screen there is Michael Achimogu. Now, he is given an eyewitness explanation.
He's an official.
He's also an official of
aviation.
Exactly. I just boarded a flight and about to take off when I was tagged to a video post about a rage incident between VDM and Mr Jollof, two social media influencers. Now you're talking. Who should know better than the unacceptable behavior and subsequent gloating video made by one of the individuals? Now, because the aircraft was about to push back for taxiing and I needed to switch off my phone, I quickly asked the poster for two basic details so that I could quickly forward a screenshot to our CPOs to investigate and get me details which would help me do my job on arrival at Transit Airport. I just arrived at the Transit Airport to find my comment riddled with chaotic insults and labels by people who think that asking questions of the same social media folk who I attend to day and night on social media is an aberration. I will ignore those insults for now. Procedurally, the airline should report the incident to the NCAA and my department would forward to legal for advice and appropriate action and advice. Now, since I have not received such a report yet, I will say this before I board my connecting flight. There is no tolerance for unruly behavior aboard an aircraft. Both individuals have faced the full strength of the law. It is even more shameful when one considers both of them partners in educating their millions of followers to avoid unruly behavior. While waiting for information, I have reached out to our staff for details now that I am on ground. One wonders if the pilot had both passengers deplaned or if they were flown to destination. If it was the latter, there will be consequences. The actions of both men put the safety of all other passengers and the crew at risk. It also put the safety of the aircraft at risk. And then he goes on to say, the NCAA has exerted a lot of energy and resources in educating passengers about the dangers of unruly behavior and its consequences. In this case, no matter what led to the fracas, there is no excuse that makes it acceptable. Subject to the speed of information, I'll put out a proper statement before boarding my next flight. Otherwise, I will do so on arrival at my destination. Wow, such a long read. I think that's all. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, but we must applaud Michael Achimogu. He's been very proactive before now. He's the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection with the Civil Aviation Authority, and he's always been proactive with incidences like this. You would see him not just tweet about it, but actually do something about it. I know people who personally have reached out to him when the airlines have, aired. But now let's look at United Nigeria Airlines, their statement on the passenger altercation at Asaba International Airport. United Nigeria Airlines confirms that an altercation occurred between two passengers identified as Martins Vincent Ose, very dark man, and Fride Okpetorishe Ashekboyi, Mr. Jollof, during the boarding of flight UN 0523 at Asaba International Airport on the morning of 17 November 2025. In full compliance with global aviation safety protocols, our crew responded immediately and professionally to de-escalate the situation. Both passengers were deboarded without delay to ensure the safety, comfort, and security. Comfort, I just remembered comfort, the other lady. And security of all other passengers and crew members. They were subsequently handed over to airport security for further investigation. United Nigeria Airlines places the highest priority on safety and maintains a zero-tolerance policy for any conduct that threatens the security of or well-being of passengers or crew. After all standard procedures were completed, the flights departed safely while the passengers involved in the altercation were still with the authorities. We remain firmly committed to providing a safe, respectful, and secure travel experience across our network. United Nigeria Airlines flying to Unite. First of all, thank you for not stripping them naked, as we had seen in previous times, where there will be an issue, and then before you know, we're seeing somebody's body parts on social media, and we're seeing an unprofessional way. It's not like they could have done that, unfortunately. They could not. How do you want to strip Very Dark Man or Mr Jollof? How do you want to strip? Then they give you one. You know,
they need to find a Goliath.
First of all, they cannot even be subject to that kind of treatment. But that being said, people who are social media influencers and public figures in some measure need to understand the responsibility that they have. They have acted unprofessionally. From the clip we saw, and it would be great for us to see more footage, but from the clip online, and many eyewitnesses alleged that Very Dark Man was the instigator in the plane, and that he had challenged Mr. Jollof. Now, they say there's a backstory to it. The people who follow them, because I do not, the people who follow them say that Mr. Jollof had said to Very Dark Man online that, you know, when he sees him, it's a fight. I will slap him. So this is Very Dark Man saying, okay, you said you will see me, whatever, and then, you know, I'm here now, let's get this thing done and over with. I think there's a time and a place for being silly. If you want to be a silly person, I mean, I like people who like to put their money where their mouth is, but not at the detriment of other people. People should have met yourselves outside, fight and go to police station and report yourself.
And that's funny bone there.
Yeah, that's funny bone trying to de-escalate the situation. It's very embarrassing. There's no way to put it mildly. I think what's even more embarrassing is the video that Very Dark Man did much later, you know, laughing, and you know, he made a video jesting. He said, "Oh, that's Jollof there, that he beats him and stuff like that." Then he starts to insult Jollof, say, "Oh, Jollof beats him, man where they bite, man where they bite."
You know, I mean, this is absolutely disgraceful, and I hope the authorities will clamp down and make an example out of this. The season of forgiving is over.
Yes.
Quam 1 and Quam 2.
This one's like Quam 3 and Quam 4.
If you don't make an example out of this,
this is
and this specific, because honestly, if you go to the court of law, they will ask who threw the first punch, who provoked you. So what do you expect? If I attack you, you're going to defend. What do you expect the other party to do? It's self-defense. He has to do something. It's not just going to sit there. And there was a point he gave his testimony. He said it was restricting his airflow. He could have gone south. Anything could have happened there. And we're glad there was no loss of lives.
And but threw a slap.
We need to set an example for younger people. We live in a country where, depending on your status, there might be consequences or no consequences. I do understand that the police in Asaba Airport Command would file their reports, and then the NCAA in collaboration. Yes. So this is an ongoing process. But
I know what the irony
they need to be put on the culprit, a proper investigation needs to be done.
I know the irony
I can't
of the
sit
situation
here from my own perspective and say this, but it looks like the Asian provocateur was Very Dark Man.
Whoever did not provoke, they both should be investigated. Yes. The matter should be made to face the law. But I also want to mention that what's interesting, if these were two different public figures, and Very Dark Man felt he's usually the person who you know positions himself as someone who likes to make commentary on public issues, and he would have dragged this person to filth.
Absolutely.
You would expect that somebody who would be that person that always drags other people to filth would know better and conduct himself in a different way.
I mean, this is what happens. This is the type of country we're in. People that don't even deserve 5 minutes attention are made public figures and celebrities in quote just because, you know, they are, let's not just, get there. It's
If
very,
you
very,
notice,
very sad.
I'm not even interested in talking about the story because the truth is, for me, I worry if we're building a generation of men, we're building a generation of people, future leaders. So these are the future leaders. And also, I keep saying this: if you keep attacking the current administration and the previous ones, that they're not leading properly, they don't know what they're doing. There's this, there's that in the land.
Are you doing any better?
If they give you power,
this is what you will do.
You see, sometimes that's why when people talked about Yerima and people were hating Yerima, there were a lot of lessons there. Despite being provoked, despite having the backing of someone who was once a big name in the country, who could even back you up if you had raised a hand, but you chose to keep your cool. You were stern, you spoke, you were firm. And then,
let's see what Nigerians are saying about it, and then we can come to wrap things up here. We've shared some thoughts here. Dopamine death is an interesting handle. Why is everyone calling VDM? It was the other guy that clearly hit first. Anyways, Hope said them walk them out of flight as per normal cabin rules. The law no apply to them. Yes, they walked them out and they did not fly on that plane. And here I thought Jollof was boiling the rice and adding the spice. Turns out we have to beat it first. Who knew? I don't understand. Okay.
I get.
Anyway, what we're saying, the summary of it all is that public figures need to know to do better. And you must understand that within us, I think this shows us that even everybody who is calling out the government and calling out those at the helm of affairs, you see that thing.
It's very easy to be a critic.
It's very easy to be like them and do the things that they do, because at the end of the day, anyway,
let's move to our very last story as we wrap things up. The story is what we're going to talk about when we come, and it's got to do with PDP. There are going to be 2 meetings today.
Wow.
At the PDP Plaza.
The brand new PDP.
Brand new and the old.
PDP is going to give us
members of the
they're going to give us VDM versus Mr Jollof. But let's share with you what the top stories are.